VJ, thanks again for being on the podcast.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Yeah, listen, I keep saying that's the last time, I'll say it again. Day one, you and Barry were here, so I want to, it's always going to be stuck with me how when we just had an idea, you guys were behind us, you came. So I really appreciate that. It'll never go unnoticed.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the invite on day one. And thank you for everything that you've done over the last couple of years and promoting our student athletes and our programs. And you guys just do an amazing job. So thank you for everything.
Well, I appreciate that very much. So let's get talking. So here, this is your third year, not because you started a little.
Yeah, so beginning of the third full year.
That's right.
Finished the 23 school year. It came down March 1st, 23, and now beginning of my third full year.
Yeah, so it's like your anniversary is almost with PrepZone. A little bit. You got 6 months on us, pretty much. That's right.
I got a little jump start on you.
You did, absolutely did. But so let's recap last year. How do you view everything that happened last year with the teams, the programs, the school, all that? Give us a little view of a 24-25.
Yeah, I think another successful year. We had state championships and conference championships and all that stuff is great, but we always pride ourselves on the relationships that we develop with our families, with our student athletes and coaches, and all of that kind of combines, obviously the teachers during the school day, and it's just one big unit. And in order for us to function and have the success, with championships and on the field, in the pool, all that stuff, everybody kind of, needs to be working together. And so I think that's what we're most proud of is I think, each year we've gotten a little bit better with that. Always room for improvement, certainly, but I think that's what we're most proud of, and that allows for that success after school.
No, yeah, it's been great. And listen, you're just saying that, so I have to bring this up. Like the whole, when you're so, by the way, thank you so much for the award. You guys are so gracious to us,
Well deserved.
Well, it was so great because when we arrived there, so I'm thinking it's one thing and Brian's thinking it's another thing. So between you and Sedlock, the boys, you guys were able to fool both of us. We both got there thinking there was something else. So, but it was the first time I ever participated. It was such a good night, such a fun night.
Yeah, that Scholar Athlete Banquet at the end of the year, it's like a great capper for the, to put a bow on the whole year and to honor seniors, honor people like yourself that have done so much for our program. And then this past year, we started honoring a junior with the Junior Leadership Award, and Nolan Francis got that. And it's just, anything that we could do to honor our kids. We have 1,200 or so student athletes during the course of the year. So I wish we could have all of them, at banquets and stuff like that. But just to have the best of the best there at that Scholar Athlete Banquet is a great way to end the school year for us.
That's pretty cool. And the food was not too shabby. That's pretty good stuff.
Chartwell's does an outstanding job.
It was.
Never go hungry at those things.
No, we had a really good time. It was a great year. Yeah. And listen, to this year, I just want to talk a little bit about, so you can, from your perspective, we have some new coaches starting this year. We have Maddie in football, which is, we got Liam in soccer, and also the pool. We have the girls, Mike
Anderson,
right?
Who's our girls head coach, is also going to be our boys head coach.
Yeah, so kind of that's not so much, but talk a little bit about, Maddie and Liam. So start with Maddie.
Sure. So we went through the interview process. Adam, who did a great job for us, and Maddie was his assistant along the way, and Adam moved on to New Mexico, and best of luck to him. He wants to make a career out of coaching, and that was a necessary step for him. And, he was just going with Adam for a second. He was great along the way, keep me updated, like, hey, this is my aspiration. And so, we were prepared when he let us know. And then Maddie went through the interview process. We had high quality candidates. We had, it was 3 or 4 rounds of interviews, and really, some tough questions, and really, I've said this many times, but we try. Obviously, we want people that have expertise in their sport, but we need to get out of them, are you good for kids, and are you good for our kids, right? Yeah. So what maybe is good for kids in Milford or Stratford or Meriden may not be good for Westport or New Canaan or Darien. What's good for us may not be good for Danbury or whatever. So we need to get that out of the candidates. And, Maddie, what a home run, right? I mean, he went to school there, played on the football team, captained the football team, went to school, came back, assistant coach. And he has so much pride in not only what he does, with the school and the program. And, he'll be there for as long as he wants to be. He'll be there. And so Maddie, just hit it out of the park with that, and off to a good start with it. Hit the ground running. Football tends to be a 12-month position now, and he, like I said, hit the ground running with weight room and conditioning and off-season programs, and now since the 18th. With the getting involved with the actual practices, and we just had our first scrimmage or jamboree on Wednesday, and have another one tomorrow. So he's off and running.
He is. And how about Liam? Talk about that process, how that went.
Sure, yeah. So very similar, multiple rounds, and had high quality candidates, and same thing. We want to make sure that there's expertise in the sport, but also that you care for kids and you're good for kids. And it came off loud and clear that throughout the interview process that Liam was great in that area. A lot of his answers, if not every answer that he had, in some way maneuvered toward what's right for the student athlete. And having the focus on that and developing relationships, and that's that communication piece that's so key, that's necessary in 2025 and beyond. And but same thing, he got a little later start because that hiring process didn't conclude until July with the first official practice on August 18th. But he got a chance to meet the kids over the summer and get involved with the conditioning program and all that. And again, they've had 2 scrimmages so far and have done really well. And
that 10-0 score is pretty something. But go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And they got a tough test tomorrow in their last scrimmage against Fairfield Prep, and they start the regular season on Tuesday at New Canaan. So looking forward to that. But he's been great so far. Yeah,
it's been good, and I feel similar. There's always nervousness and excitement, right? It's a little mixture when you got something new like that. But all the Staples program, and I was talking to Barry on our podcast too, is like there's a big every school kind of measures themselves against what they're going to do against Staples, right? It's just a matter of what it is. So it's great that we continue that tradition of doing that. But the focus that you have been put on the student athletes has been great. And I want to talk a little bit, go back, and last year you did something with mental health. And we were, before the podcast, you and I talking about the pressures and everything that these kids go through. In your mind, what can we as a school or as a program or as parents do, or what steps should we do, or what are we going to do to kind of make sure that we focus more on the student athlete and not so much on the results at the end of everything?
Yeah, I think the first thing, the most important thing is keep our eyes and ears open. Number one. And, this is something that we talk about with our coaches. We had our preseason meeting last Thursday, and, we talked about, student athletes as people, as not as athletes, and they're students first and all that. But when you develop those relationships that we talked about, when something is off, you're going to notice it, or your assistant coach will notice it, or another student athlete will notice it. And if you have a relationship with them, they'll tell you. And as we say to our coaches, you're not on your own island. You don't need to be experts in every field, right? You're a high school coach. Some are teachers, but that doesn't mean you're an expert in the law or an expert in mental health. But we have resources available. We're very fortunate being in Westport and Staples High School that resources are available. So the biggest thing there is just communication. Something seems a little off, communicate with me, another administrator, and then we can begin that chain of communication to make sure that the student athlete is cared for. So your point is great. What do you look for? I think when you have those relationships built, and that's what we focus on with our coaches, then you'll notice it.
Yeah, it's almost like intangible, right? You feel like something is off, right? And that's the big part of it. If you look at like I guess the 3.5 years that you've been here, what is the one thing that sticks out to you that maybe was like, I'm really proud of that?
Well, the easy answer is everything, but that's too easy. So,
but just from a perspective.
Yeah, I'll go back to some of the themes that we've talked about so far, that I think we have hired really good people. And I think people that are, again, good for our kids and do a good job and really care and are dedicated. And we just need to keep focusing on that. After every interview process, and we send surveys out when we do interviews for our head coaching jobs. We send them out to our families and our student athletes. and try to get their opinions as far as what our priorities should be. And we develop our questions off of the survey results. And every time we conclude an interview process, we kind of go through it and say, all right, what worked? What did we think was going to work and could have been better? Should we, add more people to a committee? Should we reframe how we do our question and answer sessions? So we take a look at everything, because the most important thing we could do is get those interview processes right. You get the head coach right, the head coach is going to bring in good assistant coaches, because you have good person in charge of the program. They're going to bring in good people because, your vision is aligned there. So I would say overall, I mean, just looking at the totality of the people that we've brought in the 3.5 years or so, or whatever it's been, I think that's what we're most proud of, because I think then you'll see the success. Listen, of course, we're proud of championships and all the the kids and all that stuff. I mean, that's like I said, that's the easy answer, because it's all about the student athletes. But we got to bring in good people to make that work.
Yeah, and it's fun, right? I mean, I always feel like a good environment just yields results, right? Because it's just the teams are great. But let's talk. So I want to talk a little bit more administrative stuff. So things that keep coming up to me, and I'm going to ask you. I think I asked you last time. Where are we with Loeffler? Are we ever going to get that feedback? I know it's a source of. I'm going to keep asking because I miss that very much.
You can keep asking that. So one of the things that we're looking to do, like. We're obvious. I said it before about coaches, right? They're not expected to be experts in every area that they're going to deal with. So I know what I'd like to see done, but we're not experts. We're educators. We're not experts in facility management and all that. So we're enlisting some experts in that area to take a look at. Obviously, we want Loeffler to be in shape that we could play games, and I know that you mentioned that with Liam's because I listened to that that podcast a few weeks ago, and
I want to keep asking about it. We never get rid of it. Yeah,
but there are other things too, right? Like something simple like better bleachers or different banner structure, or something huge like a field house, the field house renovation that we're going through now, or should we have a better concession stand that's, like Wilton has a beautiful one, and, locker room renovations, all that stuff. So, putting all those ideas together, letting some experts in that field say, hey, I know this is your number one priority, but maybe there are 4 or 5 other things that need to go on top of the list because of XYZ, and they give their expertise. So we're kind of in the process of working through all that. Certainly is not lost on me that or anybody that that Loeffler is a priority. We have a lot of priorities. We want our facilities to get better. We just want to put a good plan in place with some experts in the field that will allow us to do that.
Yeah, and that's so good that you said that. I mean, because I think like where it's they say like the first step of fix something, realize you have a problem, right? And it seems like, I'm not saying you have a problem per se, but I'm just saying like that your priorities are. But that's an interesting point, because what's important to one person might, in the grand scheme of things, might not be the most important thing. Like you said, you got to establish other things to get to where you need to get. But you mentioned the field house process. Talk about that. Yeah. I don't know if many people in the summer have been over Staples. What's going on there in the field house?
Yeah, so it's a complete renovation of the floor over there. So we started the Monday after school ended. So I think the last day of school was Friday the 13th, and I think it was Monday, June 16th. The construction crew was in there and ripping out the old floor and everything that goes along with that, and removing some stuff from the ceiling or whatever that's been there for a while that just hasn't been used, stuff like that. Then from that you have to do the air tests and all that stuff to make sure everything is now safe, and they're in the process of laying the initial part of the new floor down, and there's many layers that go into it, which you would just you walk in there and you're like, hey, we got the rubber floor, that's great, but you don't realize everything that's underneath there, and making sure the holes for the volleyball nets are where they're supposed to be when you redo it, and the pits for indoor track meets and stuff and practices. So all of that now is pretty much done. Everything that is going to be under the floor or, as a part of it is complete, and they're putting the different layers down. I want to say we're probably on schedule. So what we did plan-wise was we are just assuming we don't have it for the fall season, because it'll be a lot easier to say, hey, we got it back in October or something, and than it would be to move a bunch of stuff. So we're just assuming that we don't have it until Thanksgiving. We get it ahead of time. That's great. Yeah. But I think everything's pretty much on schedule, and we meet with the contractors and the advisors on the project and the people in the district. So we meet either every week or every 2 weeks, depending on the need. And, we're happy with where we are right now.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know if you remember this when we walked into the basketball final together at Wilton Clubhouse. Remember Fieldhouse? Yeah. You turned to me and said, how great would it be to have something like this at our place, right? You said that to me. I'm like, yeah. And now you're getting it done.
We're getting it. We don't have like the bleacher setup is a little better at Wilton than what we're able to do a little bit right now, but who knows what will happen in the future. Yeah. But the way we've designed the floor, it should be brighter in there. The center court should be a nicer area. So if we wanted to do big basketball games in there at some point, well, at least have whether or not we want to do that, because I think there is a big advantage of playing in that small gym where it's nice and loud and hot and everything. I think it's a big advantage for us, but we'll at least have the opportunity to do that if we want.
Yeah, that's really cool, and it's an improvement, right? And I think also I guess something people don't realize is how big the track teams are. Right, there's so many kids and so many families. We walk in there and track meets on Saturdays during the winter, and it's a zoo.
It's
right. It's so
like just our track teams alone, over 200 kids, between boys and girls in indoor and outdoor. So you're trying to squeeze all those people in, and it's 8 schools there on a Saturday, and it's a wild scene there. And then sometimes we have a wrestling match going on too in the gym while the indoor track meet's going on. So
I know.
The facility gets a lot of use during the winter.
It does. Like I think it was like during the Chacho battles for the wrestling team. It was the first time I was there for a wrestling meet and a track meet simultaneously, right, with everything going on. And I didn't know what to look. There was like so many things going on. I go to Laddie. Laddie goes, "This is organized chaos, my friend. Just find a spot and tape something." Like, "Yeah, you got it." So that's what I did.
But they know what they're doing. But Jesse and Laddie, they're it looks disorganized, but it's very organized.
No, I know. It's really like organized. But it's new lighting in the fit house too, because that lighting was pretty bad. Is it getting?
Well, I think the lighting is going to be the same, but the fact that we repainted a little bit of the walls and stuff, and the floor is going to be lighter. That's going to play a huge part in getting it brighter.
And I guess when I said bad, it's probably because it's a different type of lighting than we used to, right?
Sure.
It needs to be different for athletics events, I would think.
And a bigger space and all that stuff.
It can't be bright lights all over the place. Right. Somebody's taking a jump shot or trying to run with a light on their face. It's really interesting. So that's great. But anything else that you can share that's going to be happening this year aside from that you think is going to people are going to see and notice?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few different things. I mean, I don't know whether everybody will notice it, but we're going to handle the captain's council group a little bit differently.
Okay.
Both years I've been down here, handled it 2 different ways. Had like large group meetings the first year, but then we kind of got the feedback that coming back a bunch of times, 7:00 at night, it's tough, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is. You're practicing, and then you have to get work done, and
you just want to get out of there a lot of times.
And then we move to more. There are, which is great, the National Federation of High Schools, which is our national organization that develops rules and all that. They have a lot of like online resources and courses and stuff, and we moved to a lot of virtual stuff last year. But I think the most important, I said it before, the most important thing we have is connections, and I think because we didn't do as much in-person stuff, I think we lost some of that last year. So this year, going to try a third different method, which is meeting with captains, as in teams, with me throughout the course of the season, to develop those relationships, to open those lines of communication, right? And not to say that we won't do large group things or community service events and stuff like that, because that certainly will be a goal as we go forward. But that individual connection, I think, is something because with groups or online stuff that maybe we've missed a little bit, and want to try to develop that.
Yeah, and it's been a theme you've talked about it, and I feel the same way because everything we do here at PrepZone, we try to develop relationships, right, with you, with coaches, with players, and I think it's the secret to getting things done.
Yeah, for sure. And to just to piggyback off of that is meeting with the presidents or the leaders of the booster clubs at least once per season. It's something that I wanted to do when I first got down here, and then all of a sudden, like, let's like the facilities list, right, where you think is number one gets moved around, but I think it's essential that I think there's just a lot of misinformation or questions that oftentimes people are afraid or uncomfortable to ask. So just having those meetings with the booster club, leaders or presidents a few times a year will go a long way to help answer some questions. And then as we go forward in the year, I want to do a couple of like town hall open forum type events for families where they get to ask me questions and again, just the communication and the relationships piece. I think all of those things will help build that.
And do people reach out to you during the season?
Oh, yeah.
They do? Okay.
Oh, yeah. You should see my inbox right now. You should see, but...
I don't know. Yeah. Well, I should say they do, because my first experience with you is when with the volleyball, I said, hey, we don't have all the banners. You fix it within a week. I said, that was a quick fix.
Well, again, listen, and I said this, we had a freshman athletic information night last Monday. And I said, listen, I think we do a really good job here. I think we really have a good program and individual programs that fall in line with the athletic department, but we're not perfect, and we need to know when we fall short. So please be comfortable coming to us, because that's the only way we get better. I may think sitting in my office or walking around, campus watching our games that something's going really well, but the people that live it every day may not, and may not think that way. And we want to know that, because that's how we go and take a look and try to improve.
Yeah, well, if you listen to the Barry podcast, which is going to come out, you're going to see where his unhappiness is. But he's a good guy.
All right, I can't wait.
No, but he was like, it was so interesting, because the first thing he said is that it just happens. It wasn't like he said that VJ has been trying. He's not. You'll hear it. But anyway.
All right.
But it's like we were talking about Loeffler, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things he said is like there's science people. There's so much that goes on. So we think that a problem might be just solved by just doing it, but that's not the actual thing that gets done.
Yeah.
Because like you said, there's just so many things that go into play. Yeah, if you're going to put a turf there, well, that's going to impact baseball. That's going to impact the size and the environmental, aspect of all of it, right? I mean, listen, you do anything in your home right now, they're going to make you fill out a whole survey, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Where's the water going, right? I know. I was putting a shed, and somebody said, well, you got to figure out what the water exit.
Yeah,
the shed's going to affect the water exit. Yeah. What is this? But it's the things we don't think about.
Yeah, it's true. And again, that goes back to, we wanted to bring in some experts in the field that will help us. And I'll say about Barry, one thing I never have to worry about with Barry, when he is upset about something, he's going to let me know. So that's for sure. He's not shy. He
will. No, he is very. But listen, it's like, I think when you are coming from the right place in your heart, and you're speaking about things like that, and there's no malice in what you're talking, it can it's a good thing, because it gets brought to attention and gets worked out. I really do. So this year coming up, how do you see it going? What are you looking for the teams? Anything you're particularly excited about? I know you can't veer one team or the other, but talk about the season that we had a couple of golf meets. We had a couple of golf meets.
2-0 there, yeah.
2-0 there.
Yeah.
But things really, the sports, I think, on Tuesday.
We really start where everybody kind of gets rolling. Football the week after on the 12th. But, our fall season is, we're usually very successful. Obviously, Barry and his program have been, had long periods of success the last few years. Football coming off a championship 2 years ago. Field hockey's won back-to-back. All of our teams are strong. It's one of the advantages of being here is that all our teams are fairly successful. So, just looking for a good season, looking for, obviously, like I said, on the field and all that, and the pool, we're going to have levels of success. So it's the stuff that goes on behind the scenes and strengthening that's important. But overall, what am I looking forward to the most? I love watching the teams play. I love watching our coach. I love watching our student athletes be student athletes. I love watching our coaches coach. That's the fun part. The preseason stuff and checking eligibility and all the different things that you have to check boxes for to make sure we're good to go. Part of the job, but it's not my favorite part of the job. It's, about 4:00 on Tuesday when we're out there watching everybody. That's That's the fun stuff.
Tuesday's going to be great. I can't wait. I think like our first coverage will be the girls volleyball team. I think they're home
against Weston, I believe.
That's right, at Weston. And then I think the boys soccer is away that day. And then the following day, the girls soccer, I guess, will be at that. So I can't wait. You know, I think it's going to be a great season again. And like you said, it's just anticipation of, you know, in high school, it's fun because it's always different characters, different student athletes, right? So you just never know who from year to year is going to step up. It's going to be different, and coaches like that.
And there's always that one kid in the program that, like, you know, is on the freshman team to start. And next thing you know, they're on the varsity team. You're like, how did that happen? And so who is that surprise going to be in which program? That's a lot of fun to watch.
It is, yeah. It's like, and you look at, like, you know, the success, the recent, I mean, we had a lot of success always, but like the recent success of the lacrosse team, you know, where they've been doing every spring, right? And now we got, you follow social media, these guys that, you know, all this Division I colleges, right? And you talked about Adam. Think about that. This is a, you know, for better or for worse, Staples was the, you know, what kind of put him on the map here to go take, his first game is at Michigan.
Yeah.
Right? It's the big house.
Yeah.
Think about that, right? His first coaching.
And just to give credit to Adam, I mean, Adam also helped put us on them, right? I mean, you know,
true,
so it's
true.
That, it's that,
both ways.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the way. Yeah, I mean, it's just strong in our programs have been, I mean, at least from, you know, someone who's covering them, it's just so great to watch. It's so great fun. But
for sure.
And you've been doing a really good job. I think it's like your accessibility has been great. I think, at least for me, and I hope the parents see that too, and they use that, like I said, because even before PrepZone, I was a parent, and I reached out, and I knew that you were so gracious to answer us and all that stuff. So we appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thanks. And just, you know, as I always say, reach out. I'm going to give you the honest answer. It may not always be the answer everybody's looking for, but you're going to get the honest answer, and I'm always willing to talk.
Yeah, it'll be a fun season. So Michelle back with us, everybody
Absolutely,
back with us.
Yeah.
And I know Corey.
Yeah, Corey's moved on. And you know, best of luck to her. I mean, she gave 14 years to Staples High School, and you know, she's moving on to other things, and but she'll be around.
Okay.
She's not going to be a stranger, and you know, but just I couldn't thank her enough for everything that she's done. And then we have Sam, who's back, and they're just a tremendous, you know, person, tremendous at their job as well. When we talk about good people, Sam's right in there. So
we agree.
And then we're going to be in the process of you know, hiring a second trainer now.
Okay. And then one thing I want to bring up, I know that your account has been really active in all the sports, but the support that we give from the cheerleaders, and I think they're kind of like, you know, one of the, first of all, I think there's a misconception about cheerleading, because I know it's a tough sport on their body, and it's so crazy, but talk about how you view them in all this, and just kind of, you know, how much they mean to the Staples community as a whole.
First of all, they're a varsity program. You know, in the fall and the winter, just like all 43, they're right in there. So no different as far as how we view them that way, but as far as what they give to the school, I mean, just tremendous, right? I mean, they add so much to the sideline cheer teams, right? They add so much to the atmosphere of a game, and getting the crowd hyped up and being loud. I mean, it's you know, when you have, there are schools that don't have the cheerleaders at games, and we do, and that's a huge advantage for our teams. And then you have the competition team that, listen, if you've never watched the competition,
I've been one. It's great.
Or you know, and going to, you know, they have 2.5 hour, whatever it is, practices 3 times a week, and I couldn't do any of that stuff.
We talk about gymnastics, right? You and I were gymnastics. I couldn't do any of this stuff.
No chance. So the balance beam in gymnastics I'd fall off in 2 seconds, you know. But you know, the amount of work that they put in, the choreography, to be on the, you know, on the same page and step by step, everything's got to be in sync, and the physical toll that it takes, no matter what position you are in the routine. And it's just it's tremendous. And if people haven't had the opportunity to go to a cheerleading competition when we get around to competition season in the winter, it's well worth it. Yeah,
it's like one story I'll share with you. It's like, so when the boys volleyball team made it to the SEAC final, right, and they were there, I remember I walked in earlier, and the first thing is, one of the players came to me and goes, "Hey, do you know the cheerleaders will be here today?" I'm like, "Yes, they will." Yeah. So I think it was the first, boys volleyball, the cheerleaders came. But that's just a point. Why am I saying that? that, how much they're valued by everyone every day at the school. Maybe like you don't say it, you don't show it, but it is.
Yeah,
every team is.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a huge piece of it. It's something we talked about at our fall coaches meeting last week, was supporting each other. Everybody wants kids at their games, but what are you doing to support other programs, right? So if you're done with practice and it's 5:00, and instead of having the kids go right in the locker room, can you have the whole team go over and watch the fourth quarter of the field hockey game, or whatever the sport happens to be, and just everybody supporting everybody? And I think we do a really good job with it. But all of that goes a long way to build on our success and the family atmosphere that we're looking to continue to build.
Right, and it like support just breeds more support, right? So if you see someone in your game, you're gonna say, I got to make sure I do the same, because it's like that's the way life is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So VJ, thanks again so much for being here, for talking to us. So year 3, we'll be on the field. We'll do it again around basketball season.
Love it.
Yeah, we'll do those. But it's nice we're in the gym. We can control that environment. It's really great.
I love it.
I know somebody's talking, why don't you bring the podium to Wakeman? So have you been to Wakeman in October? Have you been there? Have you been there with the wind and everything that's going on there? We've been there enough games. You know what happens there.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, someone's like, no, just bring it. I was like, yeah, you don't understand the wind and the cold that goes on in there. I always feel like it's at least 20 degrees cooler anytime you get there. Right?
That whole campus, from top to bottom down to Ginny Parker, is like a wind tunnel. It really is. And I don't know if it's where the way the buildings are situated or whatever, but it's crazy. Like I remember when the sun sets and you're on, Loeffler, or you're at the stadium, or when the sun goes behind the building, put an extra layer on. Even when it's warm out in like May for baseball season or lacrosse, when that sun goes behind the building, the temperature drops by like 15 degrees. Easy.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can never figure out, but like, really excited about the season. Again, I want to thank you for all the support. Yeah, the school's been great to PrepZone. Really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much for, the access, for always talking to us and being available. We couldn't do this without your support, so thank you.
Yeah, it's a great partnership. I'm glad to keep it going.
Absolutely. Hey, enjoy the season. We'll see you on the field.
All right, thanks.